All right, my project, Camp Phoenix, will be containerized housing for homeless and at-risk veterans to help them transition back to conventional civilian lives. There are roughly 3,000 homeless veterans struggling for survival here in the Atlanta area, and this number is sure to grow. Approximately 47% of homeless veterans are from the Vietnam era, and many Iraq and Afghanistan veterans returning had the same mental health risk factors, which have contributed to elevated risk of homelessness among Vietnam veterans. Additionally, approximately 76% of homeless veterans suffer from mental illness or drug and alcohol abuse. The thing that differentiates homeless veterans from the general population is that they have access to free VA medical care. The thing is, all of the problems I mentioned are treatable, but they require time and commitment. Camp Phoenix will be a self-contained solution featuring housing, food, shower, laundry, and recreation facilities in line with our forward deployed bases, such as Ballad Joint Base, which is depicted behind me. Containerized housing was chosen because it's inexpensive, simple to construct, and familiar to veterans. Containerized housing can be made by installing basic electrical wiring and cutting a hole for an air conditioner, a door, and a window. There will be dedicated trailers for laundry and bathroom facilities, as this will consolidate all of the plumbing and hold down the cost of individual units. Camp Phoenix will also focus on providing a good environment for everyone there. There will be a strong emphasis on mentoring, with every new resident assigned 2 mentors. One, a more senior resident of the camp, and a second, a veteran from the Atlanta area who has volunteered to help. The camp will also initially provide employment to the veterans working at the camp, providing cleaning and maintenance services. Once they've successfully worked at the camp for a period of time, the staff will work on assisting them to find jobs with veteran-owned companies in the Atlanta area, or with companies looking for federal tax breaks for hiring unemployed veterans. Funding will primarily come from the Combined Federal Campaign, which is a system of paycheck deductions from federal employees. 2 Georgia military bases, Fort Benning and Kings Bay, donated over $1.3 million to this campaign in 2009. The key to these donations is the base military commanders, as they can wield enormous influence on donation patterns. So if just these 2 bases can deliver 30% of their donations, that could fund operating costs for the entire year. The final hurdle is finding a suitable location. There must be a willing community that is close to the VA Medical Center and also close to MARTA for future employment opportunities. The location picked above is ideal between the VA Medical Center and the Georgia Department of Veterans Services. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Clearly a real need for this, but the $1.3 million that's currently being used, what is that money being used for today, and how are you going to be able to argue that that should be used for this project?
Okay, thank you for your question. The $1.3 million is currently split among the Combined Federal Campaign. There is a massive booklet of thousands and thousands of charities. And when you apply for when you have the slip form come to you, you either check donate to the general fund, or you can specify which charity you would like to donate to. My experience in the military is that most people donate to the general fund, or they pick the charity with the funniest name, and that's the one they donate to. So there's very little emotional attachment, as far as I know. And my plan would be to get the base commanders to sell this as taking care of our own. The military has a very tribal culture. We like to take care of our own people. To pitch it that way, that some of their troops have been out fighting for them, will be homeless in the future. And this is a way to put a down payment on protecting them right now. And I feel like that's a very easy pitch we can make to senior military leaders.
Thank you. Great presentation. How do you anticipate dealing with this not in my backyard syndrome of neighborhood reaction to the plan?
Yeah. One of my primary plans for that, especially in the South and the Atlanta region, is to rely on patriotism, the fact that we are targeting only veterans. These are people that went out and fought and served for their country, and I think it's very little to ask that we could help take some space in their community and take a slight risk to help these veterans out. And also, since the camp is containerized, if it ends up being a horrible disaster, it can go away in 2 days.
Well, thank you for the presentation. How do you expect to run this operation? Do you have a management team that is going to support you? Because this does take a lot of effort, yes, from environment to everything else.
My initial plan was for 3 people, 1 managing director, 1 person for career service, and 1 who is an expert on the VA, because my general experience there is the paperwork is a nightmare, so you need to have someone that's very, very focused on just VA outreach, and also making sure people can keep it to their meetings at the VA.
Hi. How do you propose to provide for security Do you have to get permits to have a housing project this size in Atlanta? What are your plans to overcome all those bureaucratic hurdles that entail housing for people at this magnitude?
In terms of the bureaucratic things with security, hopefully, I mean, it will be in the Atlanta area, so we'll have the base, like Atlanta police. But hopefully some of these veterans, I feel like they'll be self-policing themselves. I mean, many of them were military police while they were in the military. I feel like they will have a strong ethic of like the tribal culture to police themselves when they're living in a just military community. And beyond that, ideally, we'll just rely solely on the Atlanta police for security.
But don't you see mental illness as being one of the issues that's driving these individuals to the streets? And if so, just having a house to live in, does that solve all their problems? Of course not. But so how do you propose to really solve the long-term problem here, which isn't housing? It's not the problem. Yeah.
Okay. The long-term problem is the mental health, yes. And we're going through they have access to free VA medical care. So we're really focusing on getting them there. And the thing is, if they're living on the street out here, we can't realistically expect them to consistently make it to the VA to be treated and improve. The thing is with this housing, it takes care of everything else in their life so they can just focus on treatment initially. And that will hopefully solve the long-term problems.
Wonderful.
Thank you for your time.
So we are ready for urban repeal.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jared.
And I'm Ryan.
And I'm Nicole.
And we're Urban Repeal, and these are our solutions for metropolitan food waste.
First, I'm going to give you a brief outline. So we're going to go over the problem, our solution, some comparisons to existing alternatives, and discuss economic feasibility. So the urban food dilemma. Every year, 12% of landfill waste in Georgia is food waste. Approximately half of it comes from the metro Atlanta area. Georgia's Environmental Protection Division has acknowledged that this is a huge problem, yet they've not come up with a solution. Additionally, 25% of freshwater resources and 4% of oil in America goes to producing food that will never be eaten, and then we spend $1 billion annually to landfill that. So our solution, we propose to collect Atlanta's food waste and transport it to our urban warehouse setting where we will vermicompost it using bread wigglers, which eat their weight in food waste daily, producing nutrient-dense excrements called worm casts. We then propose to bag these worm casts and distribute them as an alternative to chemical fertilizers, which deplete natural resources and require large amounts of energy to produce.
So the reason that urban repeal is a good choice is traditionally we either landfill our food waste, which is expensive, you have higher greenhouse gas emissions, and it also requires a large amount of space. We are now starting to send it to rural compost sites, which is raising the transportation costs for this process and also requires a large amount of space. In contrast, urban repeal has minimal transport costs because we're in the city. We have fewer greenhouse gas emissions and a smaller space requirement. So essentially, we're trying to remove the out-of-sight, out-of-mind nature with which we usually deal with throwing away our food.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about economic feasibility and the logistics of how our business is going to operate. So in regards to Market Loop, we're looking as potential clients to pick up food waste, as would be hospitals, schools, corporate cafeterias, restaurants, and eventually maybe even apartment complexes. And once we have the vermicompost, the finished product, we're looking to sell these at local retailers, including Home Depot, Ace Hardware, any of your local hardware stores, and also target local farms, local landscapers, and home gardeners. So we have warehouse space priced out at about $2.75 per square foot in the West Atlanta area, and there's already industrial scale equipment available to do the worm composting, and so that's readily available. Based on our operating costs, we came up with an average value of about $1.40 to produce a 20-pound bag of this vermicompost. That includes everything, including transportation and electricity costs. So we plan to sell these 20-pound bags for around $8. If you compare that to something like Miracle-Gro Organic Choice, that sells for around $40 for a 20-pound bag, so we feel like we have a very strong economic cost advantage over the competitors.
So in conclusion, we're reducing the footprint with which we're getting rid of our food waste, we're providing a cheap, sustainable alternative to chemical fertilizers, and we're keeping the food cycle local. Thank you very much. Thanks.
How many worms do you need, and where do you get them?
That's a good question. Yeah. So the worms can actually eat, like we said, up to their weight in waste per day. They can process that amount. So I think we have spec'd out. We spec'd it out based on a 10-pound wholesale worm cost. We need to spend approximately $100,000 in worms. So you need basically, I think, 600 pounds of worms per 8-foot section in your reactor. Yeah.
Where do you get them?
There's actually, you'd be surprised, there's a lot of worm wholesalers.
I think they're called worm farms.
Yeah, worm farms.
Yeah.
And actually, we eventually propose once we buy the worms, we can actually have a reactor set up in our warehouse to create our own vermiculture and regrow our own worms. So essentially, we could probably buy less worms to start.
Really clever presentation. What are the competitive, sustainable, again, not the traditional landfill solutions? What are some of the other solutions, and has this one been tried anywhere else?
There has been large-scale industrial vermicomposting, but traditionally on farms. So like in the agriculture industry, they are using large-scale vermiculture. But also, like as an alternative right now, there's a site about an hour outside of Atlanta where they do aerobic composting. So it's like a 32-acre site where they truck everything out of the city and then compost and distribute to farms. So it requires a lot of space, and also the main thing is the energy cost to transport. Exactly.
It's a good presentation. I like the incentive program that you guys are coming up with, providing plaques for the people that are using it. I think that's a very innovative way of doing that. In terms of cost, what I saw on what you displayed earlier was primarily a cost of manufacture. We just talked about transportation, which is one of the major costs, and also selling and commissions and distribution. Have you guys looked at that and compared it with Miracle Grow? I'm not sure if that's a real comparative. No, because I think they use some chemicals that helps them grow.
Right.
So are you comparing apples and apples here, or?
Well, really commercially available, there are very few natural fertilizers. And the ones that are, we've seen anywhere from $8 to $20 for a 20-pound bag. But their transport costs are much higher. So in addition to being a natural alternative to the chemical fertilizer and hoping to push that, our low cost is kind of a driving factor due to our locality. So.
Okay.
The question is, has there been any research to show that this particular type of growth how effective is it?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
I think that's the question.
Sorry.
We actually have some literature data available. If you're interested, we can provide it with you.
And we actually have the composition of vermicompost, and it has the nitrogen needed. It has all of the nutrients needed.
Okay, done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. Okay, as they're getting set up, let's welcome Sustainable Solar Sanitation System.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. Hello, we're Sustainable Solar Sanitation System. My name is Emily Woods.
I'm Lily Ponitz.
And yes, we will be talking about poop today. It's kind of known as the taboo topic, the unthinkable issue. It's amazing, something that we all deal with every day is really hard to talk about constructively or maturely. But this is actually causing a huge problem. In fact, 2.6 billion people are without access to basic sanitation right now. This causes over 1.6 million to die annually from diarrheal diseases. In fact, it's one of the UN's focuses right now for the Millennium Development Goals. What happens is pathogens in the fecal matter get into the food or water systems and cause diseases like typhoid, cholera, or parasitic worms. One of the worst is actually Ascaris, which over 1 billion people are affected with today. That's someone squeezing it out of the intestine. It's really fun. Everyone ready for dinner?
It's amazing that with all the technological revolutions that have taken place in the last century, there hasn't been a major innovation in sanitation technology. See, in developed countries, we use flush toilets, which waste up to 5 gallons of water per flush. And because of the immense time and cost that go into making the infrastructure that are required by these devices, they're really not practical for the developing world. The common pit latrine is what's used in many developing countries, and the problem with that is that it's both smelly and unsanitary because the feces merely sit in this pit and that introduces the possibility of contaminants leaking into the soil and the groundwater supply. The newest household innovation is the composting toilet, but that takes up to 2 years to compost human waste, and even after those 2 years, some of the most resilient pathogens might not be deactivated.
So we knew when we were looking at solutions, we had to look at something that would thoroughly deactivate all the pathogens in fecal matter, as well as do it in a timely manner. So what we developed was a sustainable solar sanitation system, which basically works as a double vault latrine. One of the vaults uses to collect the fecal matter. The other actually transfers it into a baking chamber. And the baking chamber, if you look on the far left picture there, is kind of like a solar oven, which uses the solar energy to convert it into high temperatures, kind of like a greenhouse effect, heating fecal matter over 60 degrees Celsius. This deactivates all the pathogens, including Ascaris, in a very short amount of time. So what this does is then render fecal matter able to be used as fertilizer, kind of like the past group. And so it actually completes the nutrient cycle, where the nutrients that we eat actually goes back into the ground. Yields have been shown to reproduce 4 to 10 times as much actually using human manure in the ground. So this money can then be used either as agricultural boost for the family or to be sold for profit, completing the nutrient cycle.
By creating an environmentally sustainable means of sanitizing waste and recycling nutrients, the sustainable solar sanitation system is a major innovation that's going to be needed to solve the global sanitation crisis.
Tell me, how large is this bread box? I couldn't tell how large.
The box is about 5 cubic feet total, so it's about maybe 1 meter long and about 1.5 meters wide and deep. So it's easily carryable. In fact, the carts that we're using, I guess there's a good picture. We can get to it in just a second. All right, here. So inside these boxes here, it's the Rent-A-Crate carts, which are really durable Tupperware containers that can stack, are very lightweight, and come on wheels.
And the cost per unit to the household that uses one?
So we're looking at less than $200 for the entire system.
For the entire box?
Entire system, yes, sir.
Delivered to the house?
So like the latrine, the baking chamber, the box.
But it's one per home? Is it one per home? Or is it like going to be like a,
We're designing it for 1 per home. So a family of 5 produces about 5 cubic feet of fecal matter per month.
Is that cost prohibitive in some countries in the third world that you?
The $200?
Yeah.
So it is. It's going to be something that we're looking at microfinancing options for. The great things about this is the revenue that'll come back from increased agricultural yield. Fantastic. Increased agricultural yield. As also we're looking at the possibility of setting up someone to collect the fecal matter as fertilizer and have that be their whole business, is then selling the fertilizer.
Absolutely. I think to the extent that you can look at alternate distribution channels and some sustainability, because the $200 is completely out of the price range for most of these families. As you know, less than, 2 billion people in the world live on less than $2 a day. So when you look at that, it just doesn't work, the economics. So to the extent you can get distribution, are there any ideas, are there any model companies that you can look at that have a solution that is low cost, but at the same time is scalable?
If you're looking at collecting specifically fecal matter, there's a couple different options. Right now there's people who empty out pit latrines, and they actually get paid to come in there with like a vacuum thing and empty it out. And so we're looking at that, as well as the NGO we're kind of partnered with in Bolivia, Simawasi. They've actually been trying this out on a social scale of actually collecting everybody's fecal matter and then trying to deactivate it off-site, so it's actually not being deactivated on-site, and the sanitary conditions are the problem, but people are willing for other people to come in and take their poop away for free. They're okay with that, and the benefits from that on the other side are interesting.
Okay, one more question.
How you said it takes a short time to deactivate. How short a time? What is the
So those are some of the tests that we're undergoing now. Ascaris has been proven to, Ascaris is the most resilient one. So that's usually the test that they do, kind of like testing for coliforms and water treatment systems. So right now they've seen that in less than an hour if you get over 60 degrees Celsius. But we're looking at higher volumes, so we're looking at days to deactivate an entire 5 cubic foot chamber.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay, Team Yucca is up. Let's welcome Team Yucca.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We really wanted to focus on answering the question, could we make volunteering more efficient, more motivating, more relevant? A lot of nonprofit organizations need resources, people, time, and money. These things come at a pretty high cost to them, and that money could be going more efficiently toward the causes that they support. Volunteers, people coming out of professionals, want to be a place where they can use their skills, and they can do it in their time constraints with their own interests.
And so to address kind of some of these problems that we just mentioned that professional volunteers will face, we came up with Yucka, which specifically it kind of creates an atmosphere where professional volunteers get connected with nonprofit organizations. And so more specifically, Yucka is a website. And what we do is we have two main focuses. One is really connecting the people, letting them learning their needs, and then finding the nonprofit that they really go with, and having the nonprofits come to us looking for volunteers. And the second thing we do is that we provide a kind of tools for collaboration that let the nonprofits and the volunteers stay in contact with each other, work on the project together, things like that. And so what we really kind of see with Yucka one day is a world where a civil engineer living in California might come home from work and sit down at his computer and then check off on the plans for an orphanage in India, per se.
So one of the key features of Yucka is the integrated project management tools, and these enable the projects to be done remotely. So to create collaboration between the organization and the professionals, we would use communication tools such as file sharing, messaging, and voice over IP. And to organize the project, we would use task management and scheduling tools. We believe that right now is the perfect time to create Yucka. We've seen trends in C2B sites, success in free and collaborative work models, and popularity in networking communities. And to keep our site cost effective, we would utilize the help of volunteer web developers and also charge small costs for postings to maintain the site. So what's the bottom line? We believe that if professionals are working for causes that they're interested in, using the skills they're talented in, they will be motivated to take action, and that action can change the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Very intriguing. How do you think this is superior to some of the existing volunteer websites, like Volunteer Match, for example?
I think a key part of Yucka is it allows the projects to be done remotely. So a lot of professionals want to help, but they don't have the time to fully commit to maybe going somewhere, traveling somewhere, and they can fully use their professional skills. So if they can be done from their own home, it fits their time, and they can fully utilize their skills on a scale for the projects that works with that.
Presentation, I think, is very much needed. You talk about connecting people and creating awareness. And I think you mentioned something about spending quite a few money on marketing. How do you plan to do that? How do you bring the awareness to this thing? How do you connect people?
As for marketing for Yucka, we really want to focus on using social media, college career fairs and referrals. A lot of young professionals are coming out of college really wanting to use their skills for the causes that they believe in and that are important to them. Social trends are becoming really important. So we want to be able to use these outlets to get to those people who we know are starting to really care about social change around the world.
There's a real need for this. There's so many large charities that you're still using Excel spreadsheets. It's just amazing. Real need. But one of the issues I think that some people are going to have concerns with is how legitimate is the charity, and or how above board or legit are the volunteers. And clearly that's an issue on both sides.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue. So one of the things before a site can create their profile on our Yucka site, they'll have to prove that they are in fact a nonprofit organization. They will have a profile on the site that gives details to all that they do. And to make sure that the professional is legitimate, there will be sort of an interview process. The professional will have a profile with all their skills, And then once they've shown interest, the organization and the professional can sort of talk over the phone or voice over IP through the site and sort of make sure that there's a good fit and that they do have the skills they need to complete the project efficiently.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's welcome Tab.
We have Benjamin Chisholm, Eric Gao, and Joseph Kim, and we are presenting Tab. Cardiovascular diseases claim over 17 million people every year, and the prevalence of these are 82% in low and middle income countries. The ECG or electrocardiogram is the most useful tool in diagnosing these CVDs, and the use of it is not used in developing countries, and is sparse due to high costs and lack of trained users.
All right, so currently there's a few products that are marketed as portable ECG systems. The current standard is the GE MAC 400. While it is portable and battery operated, what holds this device back is that the signal is actually printed. So it requires on-site analysis from a trained professional, and also it costs over $1,100 plus the cost of printing. This on-site analysis severely limits its target population. Another smaller device is the cardiophone. It's able to actually acquire an ECG signal and transmit it, but in order to transmit, it has to go over a landline, and this landline connects directly to a company's call center, again requiring more charges. The device also doesn't have any kind of display, which makes it a real trial and error as the patient is trying to acquire the signal themselves. The EPA LivePhone is a device that's able to display an ECG and then transmit it over a cellular network. But as a 3-lead system, it's designed solely for monitoring use. It's not a diagnostic tool. It can't detect the majority of cardiovascular diseases, and it comes with a subscription cost of over $215 per month. So when analyzing this essential need for a portable, efficient, accurate ECG system for developing countries, we weren't satisfied with any of the current products, and this led us to the development of Tab.
So Tab is a device that is capable of recording and transmitting ECG data over the cellular network for professional analysis. It will utilize a 12-lead system, which will allow accurate screening of cardio-related diseases. It will run on battery. It will use cellular network to transmit data from a remote location to a physician who in another area. It will be mostly built using recyclable foam parts, so this will reduce the electronic waste. And this will also make it more cost efficient. Also, it will not have an extra charge for the service charge, but it will only charge for the use of the cellular network. Finally, we'll utilize the software that will guide the user with on-screen step-by-step instructions. So Tab is a device that is capable, that is accurate, portable, inexpensive, user, and environmentally friendly.
So one potential business model.
Okay, time's up. Oh, sorry. Oh gosh. Okay, let's give them a hand. Let's hope that you might get that question from the judges. Like the first one. Exactly, judges. It's up to you. Let's keep.
What does this cost per unit again to build?
Our target cost is less than $300 for each unit.
Okay, and you're going to develop this yourselves? I mean, I wasn't clear about that. You developed this gadget yourself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're planning on using smartphones as the core of our product. There might be some assembly or additional components that we would add to it, but mainly it would be a smartphone and it would retain its cellular phone capabilities.
So tell me again the business plan.
So we're hoping that we could form a partnership with a corporation or a large company that gives its employees smartphones, and we would be able to collect those through a recycling program with the company. So they would be acting as a sponsor or a donor for us, or we would be purchasing these phones from them at a very reduced cost. Once we have the phones, we would be assembling them and installing the software and packaging them locally, and then we would be shipping them for sale either directly or through an international medical supplies distributor.
It's a great product. In terms of fabricating this whole product, isn't it cheaper just to go get spare parts, which is very, very cheap right now, those cellular things, and just put it together, than trying to dismantle something, put it together?
Right. Well, that's the idea with the getting recycled parts. Also, we would be contributing to the reduction of electronic waste, which was another issue that we wanted to take on with a project of this type. But with by using recycled components, it would greatly reduce the cost instead of purchasing a phone new.
And how much training do you need? To ship these out to the field?
We made these so that they would be able to be operated by someone with no medical experience at all. It would be volunteer. The software that we would be putting on it would provide step-by-step instructions for lead placement and signal acquisition, and then you would be able to send the signal off for professional analysis. So there's no need for a doctor and even nurse training on site.
And you limit this to just second or third world countries versus first world countries like the U.S.? Why? Why should you do that?
There are current products in more developed countries such as Holter monitors and stuff where they can connect to the internet to send their signals off. But the interesting thing is in a country like India where the healthcare system isn't that great, they actually have several major cellular carriers that provide basically complete coverage in India. So you could go out to these very spread out rural populations, take these signals with very little training, send them back to the doctors who are not very common in that country to be able to get a professional analysis.
And have you developed the software for this?
We're currently working on getting a functioning prototype right now, but.
Okay.
You do realize that in a developing world, as you go to rural, your cell phone coverage falls off, so the coverage is not as robust.
Right. I mean, that's one of the issues we're going to have to look at. But considering the rarity of medical devices in those countries, using a cellular network is not such a bad option when they have so many carriers.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Please welcome Incinerate.
It's should be Incinerate. No, did I put in the wrong file? It was on the desktop, and there was like I2S files. I2S files PowerPoint. Put it right in there. To Incinerate.
That's it? All right, great. Hey, my name's Christian Weil. I'm a mechanical engineering senior here at Georgia Tech. And what my proposition, I guess we're jumping to the next slide already. That's me. But anyways, before we get to that, I actually want to my objective is to reduce the waste that we have in our world today, combat that issue. So I want everybody to bear with me. I want you all to imagine throwing all your trash into the streets and into your backyard, and then once a week, instead of waste management, I want you to burn that trash. Now I want you to raise your hand if that would scare you. Okay, I want you to look around now and see all those hands that were raised. There were a ton of hands. This is a problem in developing countries nowadays. And in our world today, we throw it away in developed countries, out of sight, out of mind. But this is me going to Cameroon. I got to experience this firsthand. And when we left Everestis, well, this is the burning trash. This is actually how they handle their trash right now in developing countries. They just burn it. They throw it in the streets and burn it. You can see all that toxic waste. It's awful. This is Everestis. Before we left, he asked my fiance and I how we would handle this trash problem. So I got to thinking about it, and I finally realized, well, they burn their trash. We burn our trash in the United States. How do we do it? We do it in a big incinerator. But that's too big for developing countries. So what if you shrunk that down and made it modular? That's the MWI, or Modular Waste Incinerator. It's two-chamber pyrolysis system. It's clean burning. It can burn off food to plastic waste at 9 to 15 pounds per day, which is about what we produce, actually more than what we produce per week. In the United States, we produce about 30 pounds of trash. So there's a twofold problem. We have developed countries and developing countries. In the developing countries, 60% of recognized trash goes uncollected, and it's openly burnt, toxic fumes, and then the unburned trash ends up ruining their agriculture. Here, we take about 132 million tons of trash going to landfills, and that's lost energy not recovered. So I propose a twofold solution. For the developed countries, you run a for-profit business with a modular waste incinerator, that two-chamber pyrolysis system, and it would manufacture and sell a high-tech MWI, something that you could put on the back of your house, press a button once a week, burn off all your trash, and hopefully with some energy recovery, but it would have to follow the emission standards for the United States. And then in developing countries, you'd have a low-tech MWI, which would be completely analog, no electricity, and it would be all made out of local materials, and it would be completely affordable through the subsidy of the for-profit business. Any questions? There was a lot to get through, I'm sorry.
Can you explain to me on the analog, no electricity part of it?
About, sorry, say that again?
No electricity, analog.
The analog? So actually that's what we're developing right now. This is a two-chamber pyrolysis system. This is a fuel chamber. In fact, here's the prototype that we're working on right now for the fuel chamber of the pyrolysis. And so all it does, it burns the waste in there, and it's a starved air process, which is what pyrolysis is. And that gasifies the waste, sends the harmful exhaust back through this into the fuel, where it then is then combusted. Oh, I should use the laser pointer. Combusted in the chamber in here. And it has to be at 1,100 degrees Celsius for 2 seconds. And based off of our models that we're working on currently, that is achievable.
What's the fuel?
The fuel, actually, for the developing country one would be anything wood. Wood's a really good one. That's what this runs off of. It's actually a cook stove. You wouldn't use it for cooking, though. That's no-no. But what this is actually the same concept. It actually gasifies the wood, and the wood gas comes off, mixes with secondary air, and that combusts. So this is a gas stove. It's completely clean burning, and the combustion temperatures get up to 1,100 degrees C. That's why we're looking for that. So.
Love the idea of having the for-profit in the U.S. or the Europe subsidized. Great idea. Used very successfully with a number of companies. Talk with us a little bit about, again, what is still the distribution model in the developing world?
So it would still have to be run. This is something that I've been mulling over. Originally, my plan was Tom's shoes, one-for-one model. But because this is something that's going to take a lot of social change, and it's something that you wouldn't necessarily think of. I mean, everybody wants to wear shoes, so Tom's shoes works great. But it doesn't work well for this because you have to actually educate. So you'd still, not only would you have to subsidize it, but you'd have to work with nonprofits. Like I work with Engineers Without Borders, and this cook stove project is something that I talked to somebody who developed the T-LUD cook stove, and now I'm going to Cameroon talking to Everestis and our village contacts about implementing it because they actually want it to be implemented. And that's another nice thing about the Engineers Without Borders system is you go and you only go to villages that ask for help. So they say, we need help. So they're already looking for a solution, and we're just here to offer that solution.
And what's the cost on that? Give approximate?
Approximate, it has to be between, for the developing country one, whatever you can cover your margins to subsidize it for developing countries. But for the developing country one, between $50 and $70 is what I've read is the max that you can actually put it in certain areas for it to be affordable for them, for a community. Yes, it could service an area, or it could service a home if they're wealthy enough, but chances are they won't be. So chances are you'd have a large incinerator that maybe one person, maybe they can set up a business, and one person goes around and is like, throw your trash in the incinerator and do things like that.
Okay.
So, great, thank you so much.
Thank you. And the last team is ArcFab.
Good evening, y'all. My name is Liam Rattray, and I'm an urban farmer here in Atlanta. I started the Georgia Tech Sustainable Food Project back in 2008, and with the help of people like Marcia Kinsler here up in front, our Director of Sustainability, this initiative has kept over $200,000 on local and organic small farms in Georgia, and has kept over 600 tons of compost out of our landfills. So what I want to talk with you this evening about is my farm, ArcFab, and how this farm can build capacity for vertical farming in Atlanta. Now, there are a lot of reasons why urban agriculture is important and why we need to be doing urban agriculture here in Atlanta. And I just want to focus on a couple of those that speak dearly to me. One of those, this is the polymer index ratings for the world over the past 10 years. This is out of the National Center for Atmospheric Research, a study they published late last year, and shows how we've been in a drought in the States over these past 10 years. Moving into the future, we're going to face droughts that are worse than the Dust Bowl. This is, again, according to the federal government, the National Center for Atmospheric Research. And already, our communities are facing hunger and as just one form of precarity in these communities. So what I'm proposing here is an integrated living system for urban food production. It's a low-cost, high-tech system that allows me to take urban waste biomass in the form of like spent grains from breweries, spent coffee grounds from coffee shops, municipal biomass in the form of like wood chips from arborists, bring that into my facility here, and I can grow a variety of different foods. I can grow organic salad greens, gourmet mushrooms, sustainable tilapia fish, as well as carp. And the only end product of this process, a cutting-edge process, is quality vermicompost. The way I'm able to do this is through a multi-stage bioconversion process. I use best practices from both the mushroom-producing industries, small-scale intensive mushroom industries, and best practices from the aquaponics industries, and integrate them together to get a lot of cost savings, energy cost savings. So our current site sponsor is the Truly Living Well Center for Urban Natural Agriculture here in Atlanta. We'll be siting at the Wheat Street Urban Farm in the Old Fourth Ward of Atlanta. We'll be siting 4 of our greenhouses there. And once my business is humming along, hopefully 6 months out, I'm graduating in 6 weeks here. I'll be starting this business then. I'll be looking to continue my partnership with the Prana Group and Georgia Tech, obviously, and the Center for Biologically Inspired Design to do research, further research, education, and workforce development training. The Prana Group, our partner, has administered some Workforce Investment Act grants. And so these are the numbers on it. And I look forward to your involvement and participation in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you tell me more about the connection between mushroom, tilapia, and the lettuce?
Absolutely, yeah. So mushrooms are, there are lots of different gourmet mushrooms. We're going to be focusing primarily on oyster and shiitake mushrooms. The mushrooms break down the biomass we're bringing into the system and render it into mushroom compost, which can then be used to feed the aquaponic side of the system. So that's how the two are integrated. And so the mushroom compost is actually used as the feedstock to feed both the aquaponic system, both the fish and the salad greens.
Any other questions?
Do you have competitors out there doing the same thing you want to do here today?
Yeah, great question. So no one, there are currently no mushroom cultivators in Atlanta, so I have no competitors in the local market here. We'll be selling direct to consumer at farmers markets and to restaurateurs. We'll be able to provide the freshest fish you can be able to get in Atlanta and be able to provide the freshest mushrooms, the only mushrooms you can get in Atlanta, from Atlanta. And no one's actually taken both an aquaponic system and a mushroom cultivation and integrated together to get those HVAC, the cost savings that I'll be able to get from this. So this is this is an innovative kind of next step in urban agriculture.
Okay, so what's the problem you're solving here again? What problem are you solving?
I'm just feeding people. That's my problem, you know. And some more information. So regular broad scale agriculture gets about a penny or so, less than a penny per square foot. Urban ag, a lot of like good urban ag farms are able to get, organic farms are able to get $2.50, ideally $5 a square foot. Some of the most innovative in the industry are getting $10 a square foot. I'll be able to get $40 a square foot.
Okay.
It's more efficient, yeah.
So one of the thank you, this is a great proposal. One of the values of urban agriculture is that it can provide food for audiences that don't have good access to healthy foods. Is that part of your market for this? Because I'm just wondering if these products are needed by the marketplace.
So take mushrooms, for example. In the West, mushrooms aren't a very well-developed and differentiated commodity market. So right now, I can get $10 a pound for mushrooms, and it's something that most poorer folk aren't necessarily going to be very interested in. But that allows us to build out the other component of this, the aquaponics component of this, which allows us to compete with organic local salad greens and fish. And so we're looking to make our money with the mushrooms and then be able to feed people fish and salad greens with the other part of the system.
Okay, thank you very much. While they're talking, let's give these teams another hand. You know,
Essentially, the order of the awards that we'll be announcing are the the first and second runner-ups, which turns out that we have two first runner-ups because there was a tie, and we're just going to have to up the prize for another team to be the first
that's it.
runner-up. Then we will announce a special Grey Ghost Award, and I'll let our judge, Arun, say what that is for when he makes that announcement. And then last, we will make the, where does the People's Choice go in?
People's Choice goes after the Grey Ghost.
Okay, after Grey Ghost will be the People's Choice, and then we'll do the first place award, okay?
Okay, got that?
Okay, so who's going first? The tie, there's the tie for the second runner-up, and will Penny and John come up and do their announcement? And give their awards? Go ahead, you can do the first one, just because you're ready.
First of all, congratulations to all of you. These were fabulous ideas. We want to see all of them in production, and we thank you for the energy and creativity that went into them. And the first runner-up award is for one tab. Congratulations. 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 The judges felt that this was a very, a very important product that had a great potential in the developing world. So good luck to you.
The next first runner-up award goes to one of the burners. These folks burned it up today and made a terrific presentation. Incinerate.
People's Choice. Grey Ghost.
Yeah, Grey Ghost. Thanks. Arun, will you come and do our Grey Ghost Award and say what it's for? Sorry.
So those of you know what Grey Ghost stands for. We are a social venture firm, international firm that is focused on base of the pyramid applications. People below the $2, earning $2 a day limit. So with that in scope and a focus, we picked Incinerator as a Grey Ghost Venture Award winner. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your partnership.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are there two of them? Yes.
Okay, first one. Okay. Okay, we have the final winners for this evening. This is your award, people. It's the People's Choice Award. And I'm sure you had a difficult time as we did choosing the winners here, but here they are. The first winner is Urban Repeal.
And now Karen Robinson's going to tell us who the winner is. And whoever has not otherwise been a first prize winner or a runner-up gets an honorable mention. And I would like to say everyone up here on a stage is a winner. All Georgia Tech students are winners, and these people are especially winners today.
I'm a serial entrepreneur, and my hat goes off to each and every one of you. They were brilliant ideas, and it was a very, very tough decision. What we looked at is how big the problem was, the ability, what your solution was, and how feasible we thought it was, as well as how unique it was. It was hard, but we ended up with urban repeal. So congratulations, guys.